Have you seen the meme of the guy that looks like he's getting ready to drown in some whitewater rapids? I mean, the water is right up underneath his nose. And underneath the picture, it says, I must get out of here. And then across the top, it says, me at every family gathering. Now, while for some of us that's an unfortunate truth, what is also the truth is that is your brain's reaction whenever you set a goal, especially this time of year. You know, that whole new year, new you. Oh no, your subconscious has already kicked that to the curb, won't get into agreement with it. And why is it so important to get subconscious agreement? Because your subconscious runs all of your habits and patterns. And whether you have success and success that's sticky, which means it shows up in all areas of your life, or you're successful at being an outstanding failure, that is simply based on your habits and your patterns that your subconscious decided to be congruent and harmonious with. So that whole new year, new you, why is that a challenge? Because that's saying anything you've learned from the last year, the lessons that say you shouldn't go digging in last night's trash to make tonight's dinner because you're not going to have the proper supply. It's going to be rancid. It's disgusting. Well, you're saying, oh no, everything I've learned, oh, forget that. So we don't want new year, new you. I'll talk about what we do want in just a moment. Then you've got, well, I've just decided that I've got some goals that I want to achieve, and it's not necessarily the new year, new you. It's going to be achievement based, and you start doing things that are healthy, and it doesn't last very long. Over 90% of people will abandon their New Year's resolutions between January 15th and February 16th. Yeah. Why? Well, did you hear about, now this happened several years ago in the States, but did you hear about people that were eating really healthy kale and spinach were coming down very, very sick, and they actually had some people die from it? Well, what they found is that the crops had been watered with sewage water. And so it looked healthy on the outside, but on the inside, it was contaminated, and the contamination passed to the people. See, you can do things that look very healthy on the outside, but I want you to remember that the habits that you have in place right now that you feel like are holding you back, they were put there to help you cope for a reason. And now you're going, oh, we're just going to get rid of that ability to cope with life, and we're going to do something healthy. And your system sees it as toxic because you're not getting your needs met in a way that gives you the ability to move through those life lessons and be able to incorporate them into your identity where it's harmonious and you can begin to spiral up. So you don't need a new year, new you. You don't need goal achievement. You need a new flow. What is flow? You may have heard of that term whenever it comes to sports and athletes, when they move into the flow and it seems like everything just moves along the way it's supposed to. You've had these experiences yourself in the past. Maybe it was a vacation or an event at work or something going on with friends or family members, and you walked away from it going, wow, that was amazing. Well, you can have that amazing every day of your life, but it means that you're going to have to put together a formula that's going to be unique to you, where you fill in the blanks. I'm going to give you the formula. Where you fill in the blanks, it's going to be unique to you, but this is what will put you into a flow state. Now, as you know, I work with people, if you've listened to me for a while, from a variety of backgrounds. And I always say, what's your belief system? Because your belief system is what's going to continue to come through for you. I happen to be Christian, and I have a belief system that says I have new mercies every single day. If you go back to the original meaning of the word mercy, it's not, hey, you screwed up and you're being given a pardon. It means a new supply of people, of opportunities, of experiences that are going to be the very best for you. You can have brand new mercies available today that weren't available yesterday. This is going to be something that can put you into the flow. But on the other side of mercy, because mercy has two meanings, it also means, what are you going to bind yourself to? Like a rope. A rope has several strands to it, just one, and it's not strong. But if you take two and you begin to intertwine them with each other, well, now it's even stronger. And that's the other meaning of mercy, is what is it that you're binding or twisting yourself to? Now, I know for many of you that you've experienced trauma bonding. You've experienced spiraling down into survival in your system, your brain and your system. And so we have to begin to bind you to something that is going to spiral you up. We're going to have to break those bonds that formed around the trauma, and then begin to put new ones in place to where you can begin to recognize those new opportunities that are fresh just for the day. And that's what we mean by flow. So there's actually a formula. I didn't come up with it. People a whole hoop and bunch smarter than me in behavioral science came up with this. And it says focus plus motivator/need times story equals flow. So let's fill in the blanks and how it shows up uniquely for you. The first blank, focus. Yeah. What are you going to focus on for the day? And this is something where you have to train your subconscious and your reticular activating system. The RAS happens to be a go-between between your conscious and your subconscious. And your conscious mind is the part of you that makes decisions. So you can consciously choose that I'm going to find all the wonderful gifts today. But if you don't have subconscious agreement, subconscious wins every single time. And the subconscious is going, oh no, yeah, there's some things out there that can hurt us. Yeah, you're right. There are. See, the RAS says what's painful. Oh, what could betray us? And then after that, after those two, it says what's unique about us, what's valuable in this situation. Actually, I have the last two turned around. What's valuable in this situation, and then what's unique about us. This is the reason why in hypnosis, I give my clients what's known as an authoritative post-hypnotic. It's a tool that they're going to use to turn on the RAS that says, hey, if there is any pain out here, if there is any betrayal, we're actually going to use it as something valuable. We're going to have a level of discernment. You know, discernment is one of the most important things that you can experience in your life. I was very lucky last year to work with someone for a couple of months who assisted me with my level of discernment. And it said, hey, in other people, places, and things, maybe this is okay for you, but it's not necessarily right for me. And I'll talk about that in just a moment whenever we get into the needs part. But so the focus says, yeah, there are things out here that can cause us real challenges. And if they do show up, I'm actually going to use it in a way that's going to be beneficial. I'm going to be able to have boundaries. I'm going to be able to boundaries bless. I'm going to be able to have rules. Rules restrict access to me because that person, place, or thing hasn't earned that level of access to me. Boundaries keep me safe. Rules restrict access. So they work in conjunction together. And then there are things that it's like, oh no, I don't even have to look for those two. I've got a gift. I have got a very special moment here. I'll give you an example. Uh, my puppy, who is 9.5 months old now, had to go on medication for what's known as idiopathic epilepsy, which simply means seizures without any cause that they can put their finger on. And there's been some side effects putting him on the meds. One, a hyper puppy that's 120 plus pounds actually got worse with his hyperactivity. And it had been a challenge. That's been my story for the last couple of weeks. But I also knew my focus was I had to give his system time to adapt. And so whenever there would be challenges of 15 minutes nonstop barking, or I could not get him to settle down, and luckily I don't have carpet, I have hardwood floors, because he began digging at the floor and would not stop. And it was really painful. It was for both of us. I was able to keep my focus and go, you know what? He hasn't had enough time to adapt. His system hasn't had enough time to adapt. And when you've done everything you can for a goal, this is something else that scripture tells us. When you've done everything that you can for a goal and you haven't received it yet, you continue to stand on the promise. And I'm standing on the promise that he is going to be healthy. So I'm like, okay, I'm sticking this out. That is my focus. Well, then, day before yesterday, I was sitting on the couch and he came over, and whenever I sit on the couch, he actually looks at me when he's standing up eye to eye, and he came over and he rested his head on my chest. It's the first time he's done that since he got put on the medication, starting to come back to who he was before the meds started. And so that was a gift. And I recognized it. That was that mercy. And I could stay in the moment and say, I'm just going to enjoy this right here, right now. This is what's valuable. And what's unique about me is that I will continue to stand on the promise for this right here, right now. So there are times when your RAS can say, you know what? We don't have to look for the first two. Now, without training your brain that it is okay when there is no pain or threat, then you will project yourself in the future of, oh my gosh, how long will this last? Or you can go back to the past and go, oh, I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop. There's a reason why it's called the present, because it's a gift. So your focus also needs to be on something else, and that's consistency. After age 13, the only way you will accept a new belief is through consistent action, and it takes approximately 91 days of consistent action. This is the reason why whenever people come to me and they're like, oh, I've got a relationship, I don't know if I should stay in it. I'm like, okay, well, what's consistent in this relationship? Or maybe there's something brand new coming into it that can help you heal, help both of you heal. Then, okay, give it up to 91 days to see if there's that consistency. You can't work out one day a week, jam all of your workouts into one day and go, I'm going to be healthy. No, there needs to be a consistent, every single day doing something that is going to assist your physical body, Then after 3 months, now you're going to have an upgraded belief that this is who I am. It's not just something I do. This is part of my identity. So that also will support your focus is your consistency. Remember, we're talking about what are you binding yourself to? What are you intertwining with? All right. Then the second part is you take your focus and now you add in your motivator and your needs. Let's talk about the needs. There's 6 needs. There's the need for certainty. There is the need for freedom. There's the need for worthiness, validation, growth, and contribution. Each of these has a very healthy, functional side. Each one has a dysfunctional side. Certainty. Certainty says, can you rely on you to follow through? What's the dysfunctional side of certainty? You have to rely on something else to make you okay. Maybe it's eating too much, spending too much, it's other people. Yeah, and all of those things can be consistent in your life. They will give you a level of certainty, but it is a certainty where you will continue to experience the wound of abandonment, abandoning the healthy self that's possible for you. Now, the next level is freedom. Freedom says we have the ability to express ourselves in the healthiest way possible. What is the opposite of freedom? Drama, crisis, chaos, and confusion. See, certainty puts things in order. But then we have to experience other people to have a level of growth. And if those other people are going to create problems, well, then there's a lot of rejection going on. We're rejected. We'll reject our freedom to make someone else happy. Yeah. And so rejection builds on the abandonment that our subconscious mind has abandoned our healthy self. And whenever something or someone shows up that might be able to assist us, we're going to reject it and go, yeah, I tried it, didn't work. Next level up is worthiness. Worthiness, when it's healthy and functional, is when you partner with someone else for significance, and the two of you can create something greater than it is where if you were to do it on your own. This is when you're working with a mentor or you're mentoring somebody else. And the two of you are bringing together your strengths, talents, abilities, and gifts. But when there is a challenge, one person stays regulated so the other one has a firm foundation that they can turn to regulate themselves. What's the unhealthy side of this? Importance. Look at me, look at me, look at me. Look at me. I have to martyr myself for everybody else. So each level builds on the level below it and actually amplifies it. So we had that first level where we have to be dependent upon other people, places, and things to be okay. And that brings in a lot of crisis, chaos, drama, and confusion into our life. And now we're like, oh my gosh, look at how I must suffer for others. Not your fault. You were programmed and conditioned to experience life this way, but you have to take 100% responsibility of working with someone else who can assist you in revealing who you really are through significance. So you will either martyr yourself or you will play savior. Oh, I have to save them if they're ever going to have anything. It's going to be dependent upon me. Remember what they did to the last savior. They nailed him to a cross. You decide to play savior with somebody else, guess what? They're going to nail you to a cross. Now, the wound at this level is you're not good enough. Guess what? You're not. You're never going to be good enough. You're always going to discover something new, something great, something challenging, or a problem. It's a continual evolution. So you will experience I'm not good enough that is going to be based on rejection and abandonment when you come from the dysfunctional side. And you know what happens when you become a dysfunctional giver? You attract dysfunctional takers. So it is okay to say, I'm never good enough because there's something new to discover, or I'm never good enough, so I'm going to have to martyr or save. Next level up, validation. Validation, this is the beginning levels of leadership. Validation is whenever you can accept people where they're at without the need to fix them, to see them as flawed or broken. The level of validation is definitely the level of boundaries where you go, you know what? You can go ahead and do that. It's just not right for me. But instead, what we're taught is connection. Connection says, oh, I either need to walk around as a martyr or a savior, uh, connecting to everybody else's hot messes and trying to pull them out. And then there's going to be a lot of crisis, chaos, and confusion. And I'll only feel as good as I can as long as I'm saving or martyring myself for other people. Or you are the hot mess that other people are having to come in and either save or connect. What you really want to experience is love. Love is acceptance, radical acceptance. You know, I can love you where you're at. Doesn't mean I have to spend time with you. 2 more levels after this. What's interesting is that a lot of my clients come from the 2 upper levels, at least one of them. And these are needs in your life. You'll have one that is going to be tied in with the goal that you want to experience. And one of the reasons why you don't have this goal in your life is because you've been trying to get to it, but you're coming from the dysfunctional side and you need to move over to the healthy side of it. The first 4, the core 4, this is what's needed for physical manifestation. The next 2 are what are known as needs of the spirit. They fulfill us on the inside. It's intrinsic. It's wonderful. But it can have you feeling so wonderful on the inside that you're neglecting the outside and you don't have the physical manifestation of what it is you need with your health, with your relationships, with your bank account. You're really fulfilled, but those other areas of your life suck. Okay, so what are the next 2 levels? The next level is growth, and growth comes through wisdom. Wisdom of relationships. What's worked and what hasn't. Again, remember, we're wanting to tap into the flow. So you can't grow outside of a relationship. So you need to get out there and use what you learn, but wisdom only comes from failure. And most people don't want to fail. In fact, the numbers are 1 out of 5 or 2 out of 10 activities that you engage in to get to a goal will work. The other 4 to 8 will not. You know what most people stop at? 1.2. And that's not even the current statistics. That was pre-pandemic. I don't know what it's at now. Failure is actually needed because it simply tells you what you need to know to refine. But most people rely on knowledge. Knowledge is dysfunctional. You will go from this video or this podcast to a book, to a class, to an online group without ever working in a one-on-one space and place because you think you got this. You don't. You have knowledge. What's the difference between knowledge and wisdom? If you don't have results that have you achieving your goal and it's sticky, you've been able to apply them to all areas of your life, then you only know it. It's like trying to swim or ride a bike by reading a book. You actually have to get into the water, get on the bike, and do it, and sink, and fall off, and have somebody assist you to go, yeah, you know what? This is what's going on with your strokes, or this is what's going on with how you're using the pedals or the handlebar. You need assistance. And maybe it's me, maybe it's somebody else, but somebody created the problems that you're dealing with right now. You need somebody to help you get through them and to the other side. So, knowledge into wisdom. And then the last one is contribution. You can contribute by giving back to others, by being the healthiest version of you possible. Or you can give back to others by having power over them that makes you temporarily feel good. Oh my gosh, social media is filled with this of, well, you're doing it wrong, and you're not doing it my way. Yeah, that is what's known as power over, power under. And the reason why people do that is because they have learned helplessness in an area of their life, and they don't want to be able to share the power. And so they'll whip it out on somebody else. And guess what? All of us do this in an area. You put me around a bunch of other crappy drivers, and it's not, Jesus, take my wheel. It's like, Jesus, beat him with your flip-flop. What the heck is wrong with that? Okay. So we all have an area where we will express what is known as learned helplessness. Oh, for those of you on the video, yeah, my pup just came in to say hi. So we will all have areas of learned helplessness. You want to be able to confine it to something that is not going to interfere with the long-term quality of your life. Okay. Contribution, that flow says, I can give back to others through my actions, because what I do is 60, it's the ratio is people will watch what you do more than what they listen to what you say, 60-40. So your actions show others the wisdom that you've learned, that everybody matters, that there is something that they possess and that you possess, and when you bring it together, it can create something beautiful. It's freedom of expression, and it's all built on the fact that you're certain of who you are. Now, that's your needs. Now, let's talk about your motivators. You have 5 motivators: status, control, freedom, relationships, and truth and justice. Status. Status says, are you up or are you down? Based on, well, dysfunctionally against other people, or based against what your focus is. So at times I can have a challenge with my puppy when he's not listening to me. And I can lose my temper and I can holler at him. And he's in his teenage years where he's like, don't care. Okay. And then I have to go, whoa, wait, what's my focus here? Yeah. Patience. What is something new I can bring in? All right. So status. Then you have control. Wherever you're pointing your finger at, is where you're assigning control. There's no right or no wrong on this. At times I point to my higher power and I'm like, what's your will in this? At times I point to myself and I'm like, okay, what do I need to do? At times I point to others and I'm like, this is what you need to do. And if you don't, well, for boundaries to be effective and be healthy, they have consequences. And you will experience rules that restrict access if you decide to violate that boundary. So that's all healthy. Where it becomes dysfunctional is when you point at that other thing and it is enabling, not empowering. Oh, if God wants me healed, he'll do it. No, you've got a part you have to play. You have to take all the action possible. You have to be able to say, where's my level of faith at? I've heard people go, oh, I won't take medicine. Well, is your faith strong enough to heal you without medicine? Because if it's not, maybe you need to start taking the medicine and then combine it with the faith and be able to build your faith. And then your higher power will tell you when to come off the medicine. Okay? Or you point it at yourself and you're like, I am such a screw up. What the heck? Yeah, we all are. Okay? But what are we going to use out of it that's beneficial? Or you can point at other people and go, you have to make me happy. No, they don't. They can continue on with their dysfunctional selves, and you can put in boundaries and rules in order to keep yourself safe. Okay. Then the third one is freedom. And yes, there are two freedoms. So we have freedom as a need, and we also have freedom as a motivator. But as a motivator, it's really interesting because as a need, it's emotions. It's freedom of emotions. Whenever it is a motivator, it is freedom of how you express yourself based on how disciplined you are. True freedom comes from the fact that you're disciplined. You want to be able to travel any place you want to go. Well, you needed to be disciplined to be able to save the money for it. You want to have high quality relationships. Well, you need to be disciplined to say, okay, I want to share with people that are very significant in my life because they're as healthy as possible. Okay. So this freedom comes from how consistent are you? Then the fourth one is relationships. This is when you're doing it because you want that significance that you're bringing your best self and they're going to bring their best selves. There's something known as relationship bargaining, and relationship bargaining is going, oh, I can't ask them to do that because I don't think they can. So I'm going to have to lower my level of requests and expectation in order to meet what I think that they can deliver. No, you just dumbed both of you down. If somebody does not follow through on a request that I make of them, I actually up it. And I'll explain to them, evidently it wasn't challenging enough for you. You didn't follow through on it. Okay, so let's do it in a way that gives you the ability to bring yourself out at your healthiest. Okay. And then the final one, truth, justice. We all have truths. There are universal truths and then there are personal truths. Universal truth, it's like gravity. Yeah, it works. And then you can use it in a way that's beneficial, just like they do for, if you want to fly someplace, that they learned how to use gravity in a way to get the airplanes up in the air. I couldn't tell you how. I'm not that kind of smart. Okay. But you have universal truth, and there are several universal truths. The first one is more life. Everything in the universe seeks more life, but it can show up in two ways. One way is growth, and the other way is decay. Now, where I live in the Midwest of the U.S., Decay can be a very beautiful thing. That's in the fall, whenever the leaves turn bright colors in the trees. Let go of them, because it shows us that there are times when we need to release certain things in our life. And then there's growth. Now, you can't have consistent growth year round where I live. There is a time to go fallow and allow the ground to experience rain and snow in the winter so it is fertile and ready for the seeds next spring. We can go through these seasons ourselves. Where we come in to having challenges is whenever decay is dysfunctional. Cancer is decay. Other diseases are decay. Guess what? They will still seek out more life, won't they? They will seek to eat away at the host. Or when you're consistently in growth without going fallow and learning the experiences, learning the lessons from the experiences you've been through, you push, 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 push until at some point the system breaks down into decay. So a universal truth is more life, but it is based on the season that you're in. And you can be in different seasons in different areas. Okay. So that just lets you know one of the universal truths. Then we have our personal truths. What do you believe? Well, if you want to know what you believe, because it is said over 80% of our beliefs we're not even aware of. If you want to know what you believe, look at your consistent actions. And are you coming from a need that's dysfunctional, that is crying out for assistance to get you over to the other side? But to do that, you need to be able to move into a flow that is going to move you up. Okay. Now we're moving into our story. This is what amplifies it, because remember, it is focus plus motivator in need times story. And I take my clients through this system right here. All my private clients come through this system right here. So your story. Maybe it's time to have a new sequel. Maybe it's time to add on a chapter. But everything that you experience that has emotion to it has a story behind it. This is how you remember things, based on stories. But our memory is actually inconsistent with what actually happened. It is the retelling of the story that will determine future memories. Yeah. I will tell you a year ago, I'll give you insight to a story that I had. A year ago, I was thinking about coming out of a dating relationship that had been on and off again for about 6 months. And it was not getting healthier. It wasn't. The mentor I had at that time had never worked with someone who had gone through the healing of a trauma bond. And while he was a phenomenal mentor, he was actually learning more from me than I was from him. So there was limited assistance in that area. And the people that were close to me in my life had looked at, because previously I had come out of a relationship the 2 years previous to that. I had come out of a relationship that I had been in for decades, that I did not know I was in a relationship with what's known as a victim narcissist. I was familiar with grandiosity and some of the other cluster B personalities, but this is where I really had done a lot of trauma bond healing work. So I'm trying to decide, do I stay in this relationship? Do I keep going forward? It took me a couple of months, finally decided to end it because things were not getting any better. And then said, but I still have a lot of love that I want to be able to give. And that's whenever I decided to get a new puppy. And fell in love with one of my sister's dogs that is a Mastiff. And then saw at the Humane Society that they had a puppy to be adopted that was part Mastiff. Talked to the Humane Society for a couple of hours that morning before they ever opened up. Got there right before they opened the doors, but there was another couple waiting before me. And the other couple, because our local Humane Society cannot hold dogs, even though I had had a wonderful conversation with the woman, and we decided I was a phenomenal fit. They couldn't hold the dog, and the other couple got the dog. So I'm driving home and I'm talking to my sister, and I'm just heartbroken. I'm like, I can't find anybody to love. That was my story, because up to that point, that's what I had experienced. And then she goes, well, what about those puppies I told you about? I'm like, what puppies? You're my baby sister. I never listened to you. And she's like, yeah, I know the breeder. They own both dogs. They're half Great Dane, half Saint Bernard. Oh my gosh! And then she sent me a picture of week-old puppies, and there was one with the coloring of a Mastiff. I'm like, oh, I would like to have that one, and I actually received it as a gift from the breeder. Phenomenal. And then he started having seizures a few months later. And I went back to digging in the trash, going, okay, I have another love relationship that's dysfunctional. No, I actually needed some people in my life to help me work through this story that I could co-regulate and say, no, he has a health challenge. It doesn't mean that this experience with him is dysfunctional. Now, did I have to go through grieving? Yes, because he and I enjoyed wonderful walks through the park in our area. And then my vet told me, well, right now, until we know he's stabilized, you can't walk him anywhere you don't think you could get him back from if he has a seizure. We're talking about a 120-pound plus dog having a seizure in the middle of someplace, being disoriented, uh, partially blind afterwards, scared, could get aggressive. So, yeah, we had to adapt. So you will either adapt or you will maladapt. And the story I was in was having me maladapt. I was not seeing the new mercies every single morning. But what I was doing is I was staying consistent. This is what I have to do. This is I'm doing it for him. There's the relationship. I'm doing it for him, not for me. So there's a difference between health that can be improved and being dysfunctional. I went into a story that was dysfunctional, but luckily my focus and my need and my motivator kept me where I needed to be, so that when I had the people show up in my life that are closest to me, that are my what I call support lifelines, they're like, oh my gosh, yeah, look at what's happening. And they helped me take my focus, my needs, and my motivators even further than what it was before, because that's what I was intertwining with then. My story up to that point really had gone down for several weeks. And I had gone back into an area of my brain that had experienced trauma. And I'm like, okay, I'm back in the trauma. But I didn't beat myself up over it. I'm like, okay, I need assistance with this. I need to be able to reach out to others who are my support, who are my mentors, and be able to start discerning, what do I want to bind myself to? My new flow. Now, if this has made sense to you, but for whatever reason you find that you can't work with me right now, here's a great way to at least begin for just $9.97. Plus, you'll get a $50 gift certificate that you can put towards working with me when you choose later on this month. So, this is what I want you to do. Go to my website, dawnlandrum.com. Across the top, you're going to see a tab that says Mindset Course for $9.97. Click on it, and it'll tell you exactly what you're going to get in this 3 audio download program that also includes a success manual. And again, a $50 gift certificate that you can use working with me if you choose to do so this month, January. You have until January 31st to use that $50 gift certificate. And all of this for just $9.97. How long will I have this special going on? I'm not quite sure. So go ahead and take advantage of it while you can. Again, it's an instant access audio course that you get to save to your smart device so you can re-listen again and again anytime you need a refresher. It's designed to free you from mental limitation, break through bad beliefs, and begin to stop the self-sabotage now. Okay, again, dawnlandrum.com, and then go to the tab that says Mindset Course for $9.97.